Hey friends, what up? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Kuf Yud, Daf 114 of Masechta Yevamos. Friends, Daf Kuf Yud is really cool. Yeah, it's a really cool sugya. It's a sugya of Koin Ochel Nevelis Bezdin Mitzuvin LaAfrisho. Was that Yeah, super interesting sugya. It's super interesting sugya, friends. If you have a little kid who's doing something that's, usser, do you have to stop him? There's big nafkaminas, as we're going to see in the Gemara. But it's super interesting. Super interesting. Right? I remember I once learned a sugya with a cousin of mine, Yosef Feller. Many years ago. But yeah, it's like, for example, like if the light is turned on Shabbos, right? The light in the bedroom, or let's say the opposite, right? Let's say the light in the dining room turns off or something. Can you have a kid just kind of play near the light and then oops, he hit the light, not telling him. I mean, the point is, can you have him and his friends start playing in the dining room and then, oh, what do you know? The light turned on. Right? Do you have to kind of say, hey, be careful, don't touch the light, or can you just let him play around, and if he hits the light, he hits the light? Interesting shilas. So let's jump into the Gemara. Amar Rav, it says Rav Meidusal Shab Yochanan ben Gudgada. Oh, so I'm sorry. So it says the Gemara, right? So where are we, dude? My gosh, man, head is freaking spinning. Alright, Kuf Yud Gimel Amud Beis, about 7 lines from the bottom by the 2 dots. Hey, Rabbi Yochanan v'chule. So, Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgada had said that, a woman whose father marries her, Chereshes, whose father marries her off as a katana, she would be able to get divorced even later, because it could be, she doesn't need to have das, and we said that that's the same thing as a pikachas, who gets married and then becomes a chereshes. So we see that the chereshes does not need das in order to get divorced. So now, a merava, meaning any woman doesn't, right? As we said that a woman can get divorced l'rtzona v'shelo l'rtzona, with her will or against her will. So, Rav says Rav Meidusal Shab Yochanan ben Gudgada. So from what Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgada is saying, so Amar le'edim, if a fellow says to witnesses, look, this is a divorce document. I am going to be giving this divorce document to my wife. And then he gives his wife, now he said it to witnesses, not in front of his wife. He then goes to his wife and he gives her a document. What document is this? Oh, it's just a document. It's a shtar chov. A document that says, Reuven owes Shimon money. But we know, of course, it's a get. But she doesn't know that. She's divorced because she doesn't have to have das anyways. Fact of the matter is, he gave her a get, she accepted it, divorced. Because after all, didn't Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgada say that we don't need her das, she doesn't have to have das? So here also, we don't have to have her das. She thought she was getting a shtar chov, but really she got a divorce. Pshita. Yeah, well, this is kind of obvious. We don't need her das. But Ma'oditema may have thought to say, but I may have thought to say, well, since he kind of made it clear that this was a shtar chov, it's not like he just gave her a document. He said, this is a shtar chov. Meaning he didn't say it's a get, he said it's something else. I may have thought that he's being mevatel the get. So Kamash Malon, it's saying no, even so, it's a get. If he was really being mevatel the get, he would have told that to the witnesses. The fact that he did not say that to the witnesses, so Memele, he was not mevatel the get. Below midi, nothing. And she's divorced. By the Kamar Achi, so why did he say that here is a shtar chov, if it's a get? Machmas kisufu to come. He was embarrassed. He was embarrassed to be divorced. He felt uncomfortable divorcing his wife, so he said it's a shtar chov, but really it was a get, and he intended to divorce her. Rav Yitzchak bar Bisna irksu lei maftiche devei midrasha b'shusarab b'shabbato. Oh, so Rav Yitzchak bar Bisna, my old chavrusa Yosef Goodman Levitt, he would remember that the story about Rabbi Akiva in Masechta Ksubis, which we're going to learn soon, I think is on Daf Samach Beis, because he reminded it by Bar Bisna. Cheve, if anybody knows Yosef Gutman Levitt, so you could tell him that I mentioned him in Babylon Talmud. Yeah, Yosef Gutman Levitt and I were chavrusas for 8 years. Sometimes I still call him to bother him. He doesn't seem to mind most of the time. Well, also the Kame Durab Pidas. So Yitzchak Bar Bisna, he lost his keys in the public domain on Shabbos, which is kind of schwer because you can't carry in the public domain on Shabbos. Also the Kame Durab Pidas, so he came to Rab Pidas, Omerle. And you know what Rab Pidas said to him? Zil Devar Toli Vitalia V'Litali Lu Hasam Di Mashkeche Lehu Maisei Lehu. So you know what Rab Pidas says? Why don't you tell the little kids to play their little games in the Rishus HaRabim, and Memele, if they find the keys and they bring them to you, Givaldik. Alma Kosovar, so what do we see? If you have a Kohen who's eating nevela, i.e. you have a Kohen who's doing something asur, we don't have a responsibility to stop him. So, and in this case as well, the keys got lost in Rishus HaRabim on Shabbos, let the kids play over there, and if on their own they bring it back, Givaldik. You don't have to worry about the keys anymore, you'll get them back. So let's say that this supports this Rav Pidas, that Kohen Ochel Nevelus in Bezdin Mitzuvin La'afrisho. So let's say that this supports it. Lo Yomar Adam Latinoik Haveli Mafteach Haveli Chosam, that a fellow should not say explicitly to a minor, to a child, bring me a key or bring me some kind of seal, bring me something through the Rishus HaRabim on Shabbos. He cannot do that. Aval manicho tolesh manicho zoik, but you can allow him, you can let him, pluck something from the ground. You can let him throw epis, in Rishus HaRabim. If he's doing it, you don't have to stop him. Abai says meh. Abai says it's not necessarily a proof from this brisa, because this brisa, you can argue, is talking about, plucking from an otzot she'eino nakuv, which is midirabanan, or a karmelis, which is also dirabanan. So it's not a proof that you can, by deoraises, you can allow the kid to do it. So it's not a proof. Tashma kaminir ovid kochavim shebalechabos ein omrim lo kabe ve'al tichabe mipnei she'ein shvisaso aleim. So if you have a fire, there's a fire on Shabbos. Let's read it again. There's a fire on Shabbos. So if an Ovid Kochavim comes to extinguish the fire, Ein Omim Lo Kabe, you can't say, hey, put out the fire. No, you can't do that. But you also don't need to say, don't put it out. You can let him do what he does. Because it's not your responsibility to make sure that he keeps Shabbos. He can do what he wants. However, a Kohen, if he would want to put out the fire, we say, hey, Kohen, don't put out the fire, because it's your responsibility to make sure that he keeps Shabbos. So one second, so that actually sounds like we would have to prevent him, right? If he's coming to put out the fire, we have to say, al techabe, don't put out the fire. So Rabbi Yochanan says, yeah, but that's because in that case he's doing adas aviv. He thinks that he's doing it with the approval of his father. But, in the situation of, letting the kids play in Rishus HaRabim, and if they bring back the keys, like they don't know what your scheme is, they think they're just playing Rishus HaRabim. They end up bringing back the keys, so they did that completely on their own. They weren't thinking that like, I'm doing the right thing. Whereas, says Rabbi Yochanan, in the case of the fire, we tell the kid not to put out the fire because he thinks that he's doing what his father wants him to do, and therefore we have to tell him not to. But if he would do it on his own, that would be okay. But now, the Gemara, but one second, we're saying that the Kohen, who's a Jew, is not, we have to say don't do it, because he thinks that he's doing what his father wants him to do. But we're saying then the equivalent though by an Ovid Kochavim, we would not have to stop him, right? Because we said, right, we don't say Al Techavi, we don't tell him to stop. And we're saying that the equivalent situation would be when he's doing it for the Yidden, at the command of, right, he's doing it, right, Al Das Yisrael, with the knowledge and the sort of will of the Yidden, that would be allowed? Yeah, it would, because Ovid Kochavim Adait the Nafshi of it. He's ultimately doing it for his own benefit, right? He knows that, as Rashi says, Sheitol Sachar, he'll get some kind of a reward. So therefore, even if it's Adas Yisrael, the Ovid Kochavim is allowed to do it because he has some kind of personal interest involved as well. Tashma coming here, Ben Chover. If you have, right, you have 3 generations over here, right? Yitzchak, Yaakov, and Reuven. So now Yaakov is a Chover, right? He's a Shomer Torah mitzvahs. And Yaakov is a son, Reuven. But Yitzchak, Yaakov's father, is an Am Haaretz. He's an Am Haaretz, right? He's not trusted with Meiser. So Ben Chover, so you have Reuven, who's the son of Yaakov, who's a Chover, he's trusted for Meiser. But he normally goes to, Avi Imo, I guess his mother's father. Okay, but he goes to Yitzchak, nonetheless, we'll still call him Yitzchak. So he goes to Yitzchak, Am Haaretz. Now Yitzchak is an Am Haaretz. We don't have to be concerned that maybe Yitzchak is going to feed Reuven, the grandson, fruits that Meiser has not been taken from. We don't have to be concerned. Right? The untied, the unmeisered stuff. And even if Yaakov finds fruits, right, that Reuven has fruits, that right, comes home from his grandfather's house and he has fruits, still, Yaakov does not need to, say, hey, don't eat that. So we see a similar thing, right? Yaakov doesn't have to interfere. So Rabbi Yochanan b'demai hekelus. Says Rabbi Yochanan, well, you could say that that's Davka talking about demai. But if it was the Oraisa, maybe you could argue that Yaakov would have to interfere. At the time, the demai havade bar la'asure. 1 second. So you're saying that, but if it was, so only because it's demai, Yaakov doesn't need to interfere, but if it was vade, then he would have to interfere? But didn't Rabbi Yochanan say a few minutes ago that only in a situation by the fire where the kid was doing it with the intention of his father, with the will of his father, that's why we have to say to the kid, don't do it. But implying that if he did it on his own, we would not have to prevent him. And here's a situation where this kid is going to his grandfather and taking fruit on his own. So even if it's the Oraisa, I would think that Rabbi Yochanan would say that Yaakov should not have to get involved, should not have to interfere. So says the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan tzapuke misap galei. Like Rabbi Yochanan ultimately is not exactly sure how to deal with this situation. So koyocha madche. That in the situation of the fire, when we have to tell him not to do it, so we say that Davka is because, so in that case he's saying Davka, we say not to do it because he's doing it with the will of his father. But then again, at the same time, when it comes to this case of Deoraisa, we're also saying that it's Davka Demai because we're not necessarily comfortable saying that it's by Deoraisa Yaakov would just be allowed to let him eat the fruit. So Rabbi Yochanan is not exactly sure how to handle this situation of by Deoraisa, do you have to prevent him from doing it? Tashma, come in here. Ben Chaver Kohen Shiraga Leilech Eitzel Avi Imo. So if you have Reuven, and Reuven is a Kohen, right? The same thing. Yitzchak, Yaakov, Reuven. Reuven is a Kohen. Shiraga Leilech Eitzel Avi Imo Kohen Am Haaretz. And he would often go to his grandfather Yitzchak, who was also a Kohen, but he was an Am Haaretz. In Choshesh and Shem Yarchilenu Truma Tmeya. We're not concerned that maybe Yitzchak is going to be feeding Reuven Truma Tmeya. Matzah Peris in Zakuklo. And if Yaakov finds that after Reuven comes home from Yitzchak's house, there's fruits, we don't have to be concerned that it's Truma Tmeya. So we see that Yaakov doesn't have to interfere. But Truma D'Rabbanan, you could say Davka it's Truma D'Rabbanan, but if it was D'Oraisa, we don't necessarily have a proof. Tashma, come in here. Yonik tinok v'holech me'ovedes kochavim u'mibehemet meh. That a child, a baby, is able to nurse from an ovedes kochavim or from a non-kosher animal. Ve'ein choshishen biyonik sheket. So we're not concerned that he's nursing from somebody or an animal that he shouldn't be nursing from. Do not feed intentionally nevela, treifa, shkotzim, remosim, all sorts of things that he shouldn't be eating. And we kulam yonik men, and the little fellow can nurse from the ovedes kochavim, from the behemet meah, vafilu b'Shabbos, even on Shabbos. Uvugadol also, but once the baby is bigger, so then you wouldn't be able to nurse from them. Okay. Avol Abashol Omer says Abashol Nagan Ayinu Shionkim Behemet Torah b'Yom Tov. And we had a minig that on Yom Tov the babies would nurse from a behemoth Torah. Okay, fine. Katani Mia in Choshim B'Yonik Sheketz. No, so we see that we can allow this baby to nurse, and we don't stop him. So also Mishum Sakana. Well, that you can argue that that's specifically because of danger, that the baby would be in danger if he doesn't nurse. But then even once the baby gets older, then you should also still be able to nurse because it's a sakana. Once the baby's bigger, so then you have to evaluate. You have to evaluate if there's really a danger. Shouldn't you also have to evaluate the cotton to see if there's a danger? That stamazoi, a young child, is considered in danger, in the need of milk, meaning it needs milk, and if it doesn't have milk, it'll be dangerous. Alright, so I don't think that we had a definitive proof over here that we definitely saw, at least by the Rabbanans. So now the Gemara just said, Abashol Omer says, Abashol No'agan Ayinu Shiyonkim B'Mehevet Torah B'Yom Tov. That we had the minig that we would nurse from, that the babies would nurse from kosher animals on Yom Tov. Hechidami, how is this? Well, if the baby was in sakona, afilu b'Shabbos nami, then it should even be allowed on Shabbos. Fideleka sakona, if there was no danger, afilu b'Yom Tov also, then it shouldn't be allowed even on Yom Tov. Well, the baby was uncomfortable. Because of mefarik yadu, and we figured that, what's the issue with nursing is mefarik, right? That separating something from where it comes from, right? In this case, milk from the body of the animal. So now, nursing though is not the normal way of milking, right? Normally you would milk by milking, whereas this is by nursing. So Shabbos des skila. So Shabbos, which is more stringent in that there's a punishment of stoning, Gazur Rabbanon. So the rabbi said, okay, we don't want you, right? We don't want the baby to nurse in a case of discomfort. Yom Tov des lav lo Gazur Rabbanon. But Yom Tov, however, which is only a prohibition, it is in skila. So then the rabbi said it's take, okay, that the baby can nurse if it's uncomfortable. Tashma, come in here. Lo sochlum kisheketim. It says by shkotzim, by bugs. Don't eat them because they're shekets. Lo sa'achilum. We say lo sochlum. We make a drasha lo sa'achilum. You should not feed them. Lazir agdolim alaktanim, to warn the elders for the youngers, right? That you should make sure that the katanim aren't eating these things. My love, the amru lo sochlu. It sounds like we're saying don't eat it. So it sounds like we do have to prevent the little kids from eating these things. Lo leisfu. No, it means that we shouldn't give them bugs to eat, but if they're eating them, we don't have to stop them. We shouldn't give it to them. There's an extra pasuk by blood that says that nobody should be eating blood. That extra pasuk is to warn that the adults, to make sure that the youngins do not eat blood. My lab da amilu lo sochlu. It sounds like, okay, they must be telling the kids, don't eat blood. No, they shouldn't give the kids blood, but they don't necessarily have to prevent them from eating blood. Tashma, Emr v'amarta. It says by the Kohanim, say and say. La'azik gedolim alaktanim, and the double lashon is to warn the adults for the kids. My lab da amilu, that the adults have to tell the kids, don't become tummy, right? Kohanim adults have to tell Kohanim kids, don't become tummy. Lo litmu biyadayim. No, it means that they shouldn't actively make them tamei, but they don't have to prevent them from becoming tamei. We needed all three cases. We needed the case of bugs, we needed the case of blood, and we needed the case of kohanim. The ashmin and shkotzim, because if you only have the case of bugs, mishum the isurin b'mashu. I would say because bugs are more stringent in that they are also already by any amount, right? A sheretz is mitami b'cha'adosha, like the size of a lentil. I eat lots of lentils, by the way. Friends, you know what my diet is these days? I don't eat so much pizza. I'll tell you why I don't eat so much pizza anymore. Because the soup place is much closer. That's why. Also, there's a bunch of soup places. There's one, Alma Soups in Yerushalayim. So there's one right outside of WeWork. So I can mamish go right outside, just chaparine a soup and come back. And then, I guess that's probably the main reason. And it's like so close. That's why I don't get as much pizza. Also the pizza, whatever, I don't want to say anything. Anyways, so I get soup like twice a day. Pretty much. So one time a day, I get kubet simchoni, the vegetarian kuba soup, because I don't eat meat. So I get the vegetarian kuba soup, and then the other time, I get lentil soup with rice. So that is to say, I eat lentils, and shrotzim are matame at the size of a lentil. So therefore, I might think that shrotzim are more stringent in that they're already matame by the size of a lentil, not like a barley kernel or kazayas or anything. Havodam da'adika revius, but dam, blood, which means revius, although there's other texts that say kazayas. Emalo, I might say that maybe we don't have to warn the kids. Ve'ashmin and dam, and if I would only have blood, mishum de'ika karis, because blood is more stringent in that there's karis involved. Aval shrotzim, emalo, but a sheretz, I might think that I wouldn't know that I don't need to warn the kids, so therefore I need both shrotzim and dam. Ve'ashminon hane tarti, and if I would only have blood and bugs, mishum de isu and shave bakol, I would say because they are equally usur, right? Everybody, there's nobody in the Jewish nation that's allowed to eat blood. There's nobody in the Jewish nation that's allowed to eat bugs. Aval tuma emalo, but tuma applies to kohanim, doesn't apply to other people. So therefore I might not know to warn the kids darin. Ve'ashminu tuma. And if I would only have the case of Tuma, Kohanim shiny, I might say that Kohanim are different, are unique, Mishum deriba by mitzvahs iseris, because Kohanim have all sorts of stringencies, right? And all sorts of mitzvahs that are added for them. So maybe I'd say, okay, they, warn the adults and the kids, but maybe not necessarily by blood or by bugs. Avalhani emalo tzricha. That's why we need all of these examples. I don't think I skipped, right? Okay. Tashma, come in here. Shnei achin echad pikeach vechad cherish. Okay, so now going back to what all these cases that we've had recently. Shnei achin, if you have two brothers, echad pikeach vechad cherish. One's a pikeach, one's a cherish. Nisun shtei achayos, and they're married to two sisters, pikchos, and both of them are pikechs. Meis cherish bal pikachas. So if the cherish who's married to the pikachas dies, so mayayis pikeach bal pikachas. So what does the pikeach do vis-a-vis yibum with this pikachas? So Teitzim Shumachosisha. Well, she just goes and lives her best life because she's the sister of the Pikeach's current wife. Meis Pikeach ba Pikachas, what if the Pikeach dies? Let's get back names over here. Ruvain, Shimon, Sarah, and Rivka. So if Ruvain, the Pikeach, who's married to Sarah, dies, so Mayaysa Cheresh ba Pikachas. So what does Shimon, the Cheresh, do? So in that case, so both sisters are pikeachs. Now I'm confused. But it's achosisha. So motzi. What? Oh no, it's not the case. The thing is, Shimon is a cheresh, and he's married to Rivka, who's a pikachas, but their marriage is only midorabanan. Now the thing is, Sarah now needs to do yibum with Shimon, but Sarah was married to Ruvain midoraisa, which means that the zika to Shimon is a deoraisa zika, whereas he's only married to Rivka midorabanan. So therefore he needs to divorce Rivka, but then Sarah becomes achos grushaso, and she's basically asur la'olam, right? Motzi has ishto beget v'eshu sachav asur la'olam. Exactly. So he has to divorce Rivka, and then Sarah is asur la'olam because he can't marry her, he can't do yibum with her because it's achos grushaso, and he also can't do chalitza because he's a cherish. Now, amay motzias ishto beget. How come he needs to divorce Rivka? Teisiv gabe koinochon avelusu. Let them stay married. He's only right. He's a cherish. He doesn't have das. He should be like a koinochon avelus. We don't have to stop them. Why does he have to divorce? Why do we say now you have to divorce Rivka? Mishum isur dida. Well, because Rivka is a pikachas. She can't be with him. So Tashma, come in here. Shnei achin pikrin. If you have Reuven and Shimon are both pikachs. Nisun shtei achayos are married to two sisters. Achas pikachas, v'achas chereshes. Sarah is a pikachas. Rivka is a chereshes. Meis pikach bal chereshes. If Shimon, who's married to Rivka the chereshes, dies, so Mayaisa pikach bal pikachas teitze mishum achos isha. Well, Rivka is just achos. She's achos isha, right? Reuven's married to her sister Sarah, so she goes and lives her best life. Meis pikach bal pikachas. But if Reuven dies, so Mayaisa pikach bal chereshes. So then what does Shimon do? Because Shimon's only married to Rivka midar abonon, but now he has a zika de oraisa with Sarah. So what he does is motzias ishto beget ve'eshes ochiv b'chalitza. So he has to divorce Rivka, and then he does chalitza with Sarah. But now va'amai motzias ishto beget. How come he has to divorce Rivka? Teisiv gabe koinochon avelusu. Why can't Rivka, who's a cheresha, stay together with Shimon? Because after all, let her stay together. She's a koinochon avelus. So mishum misur didei. Well, because he is a pikech, he can't be with her if if he has a zika with Sarah. So Amar Rava says Rava Tashma Kaminir Shneachin Echad Cheresh Vechad Pikech Nesun Shteachayis Achas Pikachas Vachas Chereshes. If you have two brothers, Reuven and Shimon, and two sisters Sarah and Rivka, Reuven's a pikech, Shimon's a cheresh, Sarah's a pikachas, Rivka's a chereshes. Meis cheresh bal chereshes. If Shimon dies, well then Mayaisa pikach ba pikachas teitze mishum achos ishto. Well, Rivka can just go and live her best life because she's the sister of Reuven's wife Sarah. Meis pikach ba pikachas. But what if Reuven dies? Mayaisa cheresh bal chereshes. So now what happens if Reuven dies? So we say in that case he divorces Rivka, and then Sarah is asur, right? Motzias ishto beget ve'eshes ochiv asur la'olam. But 1 second. Why don't we let Shimon and Rivka stay together? They're both right? He's a cheresh, she's a chereshes. Let them stay together. It's koinochon avelis. In bezin mitzuvah nafrisha. Why can't we just let them stay together? V'katani motzias ishto beget. Says Shmaya, well, the only reason there, technically we would be able to leave them together because just leave them alone. But we're concerned that if Shimon and Rivka stay together, well then you might think, what's the deal with Sarah? You might think that, well, if Shimon and Rivka are still together, so then Sarah must be just the sister of Shimon's wife Rivka, and the reason why they didn't do Yibum or Chalitza or anything is because Achos Isha, and then she might end up marrying somebody else, which wouldn't be allowed because there's this Zika, which basically you can't do anything about. So, therefore, out of concern of that, we say also divorce Rivka. Friends, we're going to stop over here, and we'll start with the 15th parak of Masechta Yevamos tomorrow. Friends, hope you enjoyed. Peace out.